This week, German TV producers finally came to their senses and invited Megan's Megacan to make its debut on a politics chat show. As Megan was providing silent commentary over Chief Twat Hubert Aiwanger's shoulder, Konrad found out whether football fans can save Germany from fascism. Then they scramble around for good news for our Clutching at Straws section. Yes!
In Berlin's heart, where news is unveiled, Megan and Konrad with German tales. The German news, it's tough to bear, but with Megacans, they're ready to head there. Konrad, daily news at hand. Megan feels to spare time to crack those cans. With each sip she takes, the Meg is her shield, but will it last the news? 'Cause that was the deal.
Hello everyone! It's time for another episode of Megan's Megacan. I'm Megan, I'm here in Berlin with Konrad Werner. Hi Konrad Werner.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
If you celebrate.
Yeah.
And it's snowing as well, which is quite romantic.
It is, and it's like proper snow. It snowed all through the night in Berlin, and we woke up to I would say a good 10, 20 centimeters.
Yeah, it was a lot of snow.
It was amazing.
It was like people were kicking it around and enjoying themselves, and it was so bright. Everything was so bright and sunny.
It's lovely.
It's
if you ever want your faith restored in humanity, just go and do like a break duty. It's slightly difficult because they're not supposed to throw snowballs, but they made huge snowmen today and an igloo. It was really good.
Brings out the inner child, doesn't it, snow?
Yeah. My friend said she took her dog out for a walk last night at 11, and there was a man just by himself making a snow angel. I mean, it was Neukölln on a Thursday evening, so he could have been struggling for help.
or on drugs or something.
Oh. Yeah.
But that's the stereotype.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Speaking of spirits, guess what we have today? Now, I've had to break my 250 mils rule, and I think I'm going to have to go on a personal, those things like grant me the serenity, the courage to change the things I can. There's so much we need to change. The 250 mils, I'm going to have to just bring some serenity and accept that I cannot change that.
Okay.
So it's fine.
You've made your peace with 250 milliliters.
No. I wouldn't say I'm that yet, but we'll get there. But because we're missing out on a lot of new things. This isn't that new, but I've seen it. Did you, in your youth, drink Alco Pops?
No.
Probably not. I think I came of age just as Alco Pops hit the market.
Yeah,
and my favourite was a Smirnoff Ice. And a Smirnoff Ice came in a bottle.
Do you know what I drank in my youth?
Oh.
Neat vodka warm out of the off-license.
Wow. Okay.
We drank that in the bus on the way into town when I was 17.
Yeah, if I'd done that, I would have died. Thank God they made Alco Pops because I would not be here otherwise. So my favourite Alco Pop was a Smirnoff Ice. And this...
Ooh, this looks nice.
But listen.
Okay.
Because I've seen these cans and I was like, but a Smirnoff Ice was always 5.5%. So it's not. The good people at Smirnoff, knowing that they have taken a 330ml frosted glass bottle that I used to drink of when I used to go to the fort in Dungannon for the Battle of the Bands. That's when we would go drinking. They have upped it to 10% because they've taken it down to 250 mils.
Yeah.
So that's a good news thing right off the bat.
Yeah.
Konrad, we were struggling a minute ago to come up with something for our good news section. But
here
we are.
They've they changed the ratios. And
so I'm wondering if it's going to taste how I remember it.
It looks really nice. It's called Crisp Citrus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smirnoff Ice. It's a good drink.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh God. You know when you taste something and you're like, oh God, I'm right back to being 15, 16 maybe.
There's a kind of
Oh my God, I can remember what boots I was wearing. Jesus Christ.
the boots came back to haunt you.
It tastes so, yeah.
Oh yeah, the foretaste, that initial
Yeah, don't do. Yeah.
It tastes like that. Those little serviettes that are in a sachet.
They do. It smells of antiseptic. Is I think. What
that you get with fried chicken. Or when you're on a plane, you get that little towelette or whatever it is.
I think I can taste like the extra vodka in it a little bit, so that's good because.
Okay. Well, yeah.
It's adjusted to my palate, but it's.
I'm enjoying it already.
A good drink.
It's just I just wish it was bigger.
Don't we all? But we can't have everything. I was going to say we can't have anything.
As Mick Jagger said, you can't always get what you want.
You can't.
Good. Anyway, news. Well, I'm just really angry with Mick Jagger because he's a boomer who says things like, you can't always get what you want, but you might get what you need. Like back when we were out there choosing, the choices we were making were the things that were like causing us harm, as opposed to every fucking person who's in an elected position of power. Okay. Well, you can't blame him he just made a song. I mean, you can't blame him.
He did make a song. It's not Mick Jagger's fault.
Anyway, so this was a big week for Megan's Megacan because you made your TV debut.
I did.
Tell us all about it. So you went on Maischberger, one of the several German political talk shows that are named after the host.
Yes.
So there's Lanz, Maischberger, and what was the other one? Anne Will. But they're all just named after whoever's doing it.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like an equivalent in the UK, but everyone does much more like comedy ones now in other places.
Well, there's Question Time, I suppose, is the closest thing. But then people in the audience talk, though that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
But can I just say, no, because I wanted to paint the picture a little bit better, because I watched it on TV. And and the thing is, you weren't just in the audience.
No.
You were visible for almost the whole show.
Of course I was.
Because you were sat right behind one of the interview chairs, which first contained Annalena Baerbock,
of course,
the foreign minister, and then later it contained Hubert Aiwanger.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
And your face was just like over their shoulder, like you were like a kind of
and I do not have the world's most inscrutable face.
No.
My kids, so it was part of, I went with
it's like they actually framed you in the picture. That's what I want to say. If they'd have put a little, all it needed was like a tiny little extra light, and it would have been like you were actually meant to be in the show.
Yeah.
So you were very visible is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I haven't quite brought myself to like watch it back yet, and I've got two students who are behind behind Maischberger as well, so they're in it as well, like great students of ours. But so I went with this group of students. We got tickets and it was really fun. It was nice for them to see. You have to go down to like Adlershof Backars, like in one of those big kind of, not quite an industrial estate, but like there's obviously loads of these huge buildings used for all these different studios and various other things. And so we went, and there wasn't that many people in the audience, and you walk in and you get sat individually, like height-wise and stuff like this.
Oh, they take a look at you and decide where you're going to sit.
Yeah, the kids were joking that all the ones that were wearing their like tracksuit bottoms and stuff were kind of like put to the back. But
right, interesting.
And then I, of course, get plonked right in the chair to the point where the makeup person came to me and powdered my face because otherwise I would be too shiny.
So they look a little shiny.
Yeah, so it's just me being powdered and like hearing all around the studio kids in various places just laughing at me, being like, Miss Reddington.
And you were kind of silently commenting on everything that was happening. You could kind of watch the show via your expression.
I was really trying not to, but it's quite interesting because the guy comes out at the beginning who was very good and kind of talks you through what you kind of need to do as an audience, like when you need to clap, when you need to whatever, because you do kind of have this role to play, like when Maischberger was moving from one part of the set to the other, so there was like a panel discussion and she's like, okay, when she moves, you have to fill that dead time, so you have to clap and things like that. And then they were also like, okay, so then we're also going to have a debate. And they had a debate between Hubert Aiwanger and Gregor Gysi. I was so excited. And some of my students were like, Gregor Gysi's going to be on this, amazing. Because he's the most charming man. So then the guy was also like the man doing the introduction, who was very good and very charming. But he was kind of, okay, so when these debates are discussed in the press, we want them to focus on the content. And it would be a real shame. Sometimes you see it when it's all they talk about is like, oh, this person got booed and this person didn't get as many claps. We want to focus on what they said. And then he was like, but of course, I don't mean don't clap for something that you don't think is good, or but all, like, don't boo. They did say don't boo, which fine.
Did you get vetted at all? Did they ask you about your political views, or did they say
me dragging in like a group of Berlin kids?
And like, how did you get on it? What was the process?
So you can just, as a person, go to tvtickets.de.
Right.
Maischberger is all sold out, but you'll see all the German TV shows, and it's actually something I think I'm going to try and do. Maybe not go and see them, all of them myself, but watch more terrestrial German TV, because I do think it gives you like I am in this little like bubble where I sort of know what's happening, but I don't really understand like the culture. I want to like immerse myself more in German culture for my sins before they kick me out.
Before the AfD gets in, and then...
Yeah, but I think we got it through they do like school groups. There was a contact, like one of the parents or something had, so they said, oh, would you be interested in coming? Mm-hmm. This was quite far in advance, so I think you had to do it quite far in advance. But there were people there who put up their hands and said they'd been there like 5 times or more, so...
So they're like...
And it's free to go.
There are Maischberger groupies who go...
Yeah, and like young guys, I don't know, it was... Anyway, so... That was really fun and a really good experience, but yeah.
And what did you make of? So what we saw on the show, we had first there was like a kind of panel with various commentators, journalists. Yeah. There was a cabaretist.
Yes, because
like
it's coming up to Fasching,
and that was
Carnival, which means that we have to. That's why he was on, I'm assuming, which is all this.
Well,
I don't know, actually. I've made that connection in my head, but maybe not.
No, I think they just wanted to mix it up a bit. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know either.
Köln. We only ever talk about Köln around Fasching.
Well, he tried to make a few jokes that were sort of, I suppose they were funny. I don't know. It was German jokes.
Yeah,
you can't really tell if they were actually funny or not.
I don't know. But I thought he was quite on point. Like, I was a bit like, oh God, who is this man? And then there was a woman, sorry, I should obviously have the names of these people. Do you have there was a journalist from Politico, he was quite good.
Right,
he looks a bit like Tom Selleck.
And there was a guy with the big moustache.
Yeah, that's the Tom Selleck. And our cue to clap was when she said Politico. They had like little panelly bits, and
Gordon Repinski, he was called.
Yes.
And then there was the cabaretist, was called Jürgen Becker.
Yeah.
And there was a female journalist called Susanne Gaschke as well.
Where was she from? She was a little bit centrist. I was a bit like, what are you talking about? Though
so they had
she made a couple of points that I kind of agreed with.
She is from Die Zeit.
Okay.
And then, but she also worked for Welt am Sonntag.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And she was a member of the SPD. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then, so basically they had this panel, and then Annalena Baerbock came on and did a single interview with Maischberger.
Yeah.
And while the panel was watching, it must have been, and they kind of asked Annalena Baerbock about her rivalry with Robert Habeck, and they brought up this thing about how Robert Habeck was like, there was like this football analogy, like he thought that he should have been the candidate in 2021 and it would have been, that was like an Elfmeter. He says that was like a penalty, and now he's got to be the candidate, and they're 4-0 down was the analogy, and then sort of thing. Yeah. And they were trying to like bring up this sort of rivalry between Baerbock and Habeck.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of his comment about that.
I mean, I don't know when he said it, and I'm to be honest, I've never heard that quote before. So
no, but
they might have just taken it sort of a little bit out of context just to wind her up a bit, which they,
Yeah, she came out and she's very small. First of all, I don't like to talk about female politicians just how they look, but I do think, and I was talking to some of the students afterwards about this, I think if she comes across, I think, very well. And she's very articulate. She's obviously getting like grilled on migration constantly, and like, what are you going to do? And she was like, look, we have to be able to distinguish between someone who is a criminal who's not just done like a misdemeanor, like someone who's committed a serious crime. And when we're talking about like family reunification and stuff, and then like people, and she was sort of giving these cases, and she comes across as very humane, I think. I don't think it's ungenuine, or that's not the sort of idea that I get. And yes, is she brilliant on Gaza? No, but who the fuck else is in this country? And I just wonder if she looked different and if she wasn't so young, whether she would be treated a bit more like she'd be treated differently, I think. Taken more seriously, perhaps. But she is tinsy.
They also brought up a lot of other stuff about how she's friends with Merkel and how she was chatting with Armin Laschet. Do you remember all this? And about how they kind of, I don't know, like it was a bit weird, the line of questioning. It felt like they were trying to paint her as like this sort of centrist who is just friends with other career politicians. They weren't really...
Yeah, and there was all these questions about like, oh, so, you know, when she sat down, like, you share a constituency with Olaf Scholz in Potsdam and you both go running. Have you ever been running together?
Yeah, I know.
Fucking... I don't know. Would you ask that of Merkel? No, you fucking wouldn't. And maybe Merkel's got more... Like, I don't know. But it was fine.
And then the fun bit came at the end, where they had Hubert Aiwanger, the head of the Freie Wähler, which is this sort of Bavarian party which
Bavarian populist nonsense party.
Which is it's in government in Bavaria, but it's now trying to get into the Bundestag, hoping for... Well, they need at least 5% of the vote, which they're not going to get. No. But they are hoping that if they get 3 direct candidates, they will get into parliament anyway. So they're hoping for 3 direct candidates in Bavaria. And then
it's the last fucking thing we need.
And they were kind of like, we talked about them before. And Aiwanger, you'll remember, was the one who got into trouble because of he made some Holocaust jokes when he was at school. Allegedly.
Actually, it was really his brother.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they said, and then his brother came out and said it was me. And
it was me.
It was a bit ridiculous, the whole thing.
Yeah, it was disgusting. And his apology was just a non-apology, a non-anything. I can't remember.
And they paired him up with one of the leading candidates, Linke, and who are also trying to get 3%, who are doing a bit better nationally in the polls than the Freie Wähler. And they want to get 3 candidates. What was that like? What was the debate like?
I mean, it takes a lot for me to... And obviously we'd had this kind of introductory talk, which was like, oh, try to not just clap for one candidate. But like, I think there were 2 people in the audience who clapped when Aiwanger said something. But it was, on the one hand, I'm kind of like, oh, it was really tough because... And he also has a very strong Bavarian accent. I know quite a few people with Bavarian accents, but his is like really strong on the border. And like maybe other people were, I don't know, it's Berlin, so maybe other thing. It's also Berlin. He's a Bavarian politician, so that's difficult. And he's also up against like one of our darlings in Berlin, Gregor Gysi, who's just, regardless, even if you don't agree with him, like he's just a charming man. And he's like tiny. His wee legs were swinging on, like he's sitting on this chair having his wee debate and his legs are basically just like swinging. They're not touching the ground. And so Aiwanger is just like he's this kind of like blustery, a very different person. And Gysi just owned him. Gysi was also like just talking over him, just kind of like whatever.
But, I mean, he's so experienced, Gysi. He's done these things for years, and he's got his own talk show, on the which you can see live, and he's just been doing this for so long, and he's always really funny. He knows how to get a laugh from the audience, and
So,
and he is also, I mean, what else? They basically just debated their different economic views or their different views.
Yeah.
So Gysi's still very much a kind of socialist, and Aiwanger's very much a free market kind of
yeah, he's having
type.
his pockets lined by some people in Bavaria.
And
it's
they talked
very,
about,
very clear.
I did notice, because obviously I was watching you the whole time over Aiwanger's shoulder.
Oh God, I know. I was really, and I'm also
so there was 2 bits where there was definitely a reaction from you, and that was, the first one was the discussion of inheritance tax. Because the Freie Wähler want to abolish inheritance tax altogether so that rich people can get a bit richer.
Yeah. Do you know how
And
easy it is to stay fucking rich? Fucking hell. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
And Gizi was...
in Gizi they want to raise it, I guess, the linker.
Yeah,
Or
but
at
it's
least-
just one of these things that is so... Don't shit in my hand and call it a Sunday. If you are a populist, Freie Wähler, independent guy down in Bavaria where everyone has shit tons of money, your pals have money, they're the ones who are donating to your party, and they don't want their kids, to have to pay tax on their massive house in Munich or out in the countryside. Fine. Just say, I am looking out for my own. Gizi, you can look out for your own. Do not start with this sob story about, it's about families and the grandparents are working and think, what are you talking about? What are you fucking talking about? Fuck you. Don't, it's just the lies.
Yeah, he claimed that people were having to sell houses because of the inheritance tax. Do you remember that?
No, I couldn't. To be honest with him, and to be fair to Aiwanger, I struggled to understand the finer points of what he was saying. Like it was tricky.
Because that was then Gizi scoffed at him when he said that. And then the other bit where you did a kind of eye roll was when he was talking about immigration policy. And basically turning away people at the border.
But they don't
and all
have.
that
This
stuff.
is the thing. This is what makes this so frustrating because first, it's just the same stuff we have to talk about. We just talk, even when we were like saying what we're going to talk before we get on, because we do actually plan what we're going to say.
Believe it or not.
We're obviously not scripted, but we have a plan.
We do.
And I was just like, well, we might as well just start fucking thing because it's just going to be the same stuff. It's just Nazis. It's just lies and nonsense. And nobody seems to fucking care because everyone thinks that the people they hurt is not going to be them. So who cares? And if it makes you feel better that rich people don't have to pay tax, and then if it makes poor people feel better that there are less people speaking Arabic on the bus, and that makes you feel like you've won something despite the fact that no one's going to be able to fucking care for you in a care home, and there's going to be no tax to pay for the care home, so you're just going to have to die.
Well, maybe Elon Musk will build you a robot and that will care for you. I don't know.
I mean, I actually do think that AI with elder loneliness could be quite a good thing. No, I know that sounds silly, but apparently it is like it's a thing.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's probably what is probably already happening, I expect. Anyway.
But yeah, there's going to be nobody, like, fine, but don't make me have to listen to your lies about it. It's so exhausting. At one point, Gizi was like, I've just explained to you why tightening the border is not going to, because they're just going to find other ways, and then they come in and they're going to be illegal, which makes everything more precarious, and then people are going to be pushed into more desperate situations. Then Aiwanger's like, yeah, but we need tighter border control. And he's like, I've just said a point about this, and you don't have anything to counter that because it's not a policy. Racism is not a policy.
No, exactly. No, I mean, that's
tighter
the thing.
borders. What the fuck does that mean? Have you ever tried to tighten a fucking border?
Yeah, they don't. That's really true. I mean, they don't.
Like,
it's just like
a big fucking country.
It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, I totally agree. There's like the thing is, like Merkel and then Scholz have introduced the most like draconian anti-immigration laws.
Yes.
In the last there have ever been. I mean, not there have ever been, obviously, because there was another time when they were really strong. But the point is that all they've been doing is shutting down borders for the last 10 years, and it's obviously never going to be enough because they're not openly racist enough. And that's why, and you know, it's ridiculous. It's the same with like Trump in America. There's like, oh, everyone's going, oh, look, Trump, he's like deporting all these people. And the deportation numbers, they're no higher than they were under Biden, under Obama, because they've all been deporting people. Anyway.
Yeah, because we somehow think that this is going to make us have some,
yeah.
like, are we just... Yeah, of course we are. We're just playing with people's lives at borders, like your most vulnerable state. And like, obviously there are issues with integration. We've had another attack in Germany, in Munich, with a migrant, or like someone who was looking for asylum and it got denied, I think, drove into a protest. Like, horrible.
Yeah.
But none of this tight border, tough on immigration, none of that is solving anything.
No.
Just making everybody fucking miserable for no reason because we want to pander to the racists. And look what's happened. We didn't take this, seriously, when it started to happen, the whole fucking Trump nonsense, the whole fucking Tea Party, all of that crap, AfD, anti-EU, Brexit, what can save us?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So, do you want to know what I did this week?
Please tell me.
Did
you go on a cool show with Annalena Baerbock, though? No.
No,
but
I
you were
didn't,
also on telly.
I was briefly on. I didn't realise it was going to be telly, but I was on a podcast that they were filming, and they didn't tell me, and I didn't put any. No one powdered my face. I can tell you that. They stayed well away from my face. I was just not shiny. So anyway, the other thing I did this week was write an article about football fans.
Oh.
Because there's been quite a lot of demonstrations in the last year. It sort of started last January. A lot of major football clubs in Germany have called on their fans to oppose right-wing extremism and oppose the AfD. There was a big protest just after the Holocaust Memorial Day at St. Pauli, which is a famously left-wing club in Hamburg, and they did a big choreography. And they're kind of, I mean, St. Pauli is like this sort of, they're just really famous for it, and they have this anti-fascist fan base. And they also, as I found out this week, don't like to talk to the media very much. They're kind of like very much an insular thing of their own. But they did put on this really good protest, talking about the sort of never again and the stuff against the Holocaust, and they put a banner up that said, if you fight against Nazis, you can't rely on the state. So, wer gegen Nazis kämpft, kann sich nicht auf den Staat verlassen.
Oh.
Which they put up a huge banner, and they all held up these black sheets to sort of mark the day, and they also...
And they're very good at this, like if you've seen some of the...
Yeah, that's choreographed.
It's amazing, and like the artistic kind of thing, and how it's...
And they also chanted throughout the game, the whole of Hamburg hates the AfD.
Go Hamburg.
Very, very loudly in the stadium. And, you know, there's like a major club, and that is something that maybe other... the point... So I wrote this article, so kind of the point of the thing is that football is like really big in Germany. It's like it does unifies a lot of people. It brings... and it is a huge like cultural... phenomenon, and there was this article in the Tats which sort of said that we need more of that in the demos against the AfD. There needs to be more of this unity, more of this solidarity, more of this kind of the passion, basically, because the football fans have a way of. They know how to get into the media, as one of the people that I spoke to this week put it. They know how to do pyrotechnics, to do their smoke bombs. They know how to force the issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that same expert also, who was like from a group called Gesellschaftsspiele, which is a group of football fans who try and be more politically engaged and try and promote like a diversity and everything. And he said, but that is all true. But on the other hand, in the last few years, much like the rest of German society, there has been like an obvious drift to the right. And it's come across that like there's a lot more, he said there's a lot more open racism in the stands, like about black players. So I kind of like wrote this thing about that. So it's like on the one hand, it is good that there are these demos and there is all this, there is a kind of, passion in football that is not necessarily present in the rest of society, but on the other hand, it's like a thing.
Good to look at that. Like I find these anti-AfD things, like the big one that happened after that sort of re-migration meeting scandal that was outside the Bundestag, like I find them very middle class performative, and like obviously I'm a middle class performative person.
Yeah, but I think that demos, I mean, they are still important. I think demos
but really, I think also part of the football thing is it's not just this kind of middle class kind of, you know, it's more that's diversity that should be brought into these demos.
So it's quite a powerful sort of subculture, and it does and I do think that I think generally protests do make more of a difference than people like to think. I think that there's a lot of cynicism out there about, you know, the AfD are winning on social media and that's all that really matters. But I think that it does make a big difference if 160,000 people or 200,000 people take to the streets of Berlin after Friedrich Merz does the thing in Parliament. I mean, that that if nothing else, I think it does help to sort of stiffen the spines of centrist politicians in the parliament, or you'd hope so. I think it does. So. You would think that does help to give them a bit more courage than they might not otherwise have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, even for us all individually, like it does make it is these are tough times.
Yeah.
Every time you look at the news, it's fucking rough.
Yeah.
And to sort of look and see the demos, or if you're not able to go to one, to be able to see it on social media and stuff like that, like it is heartening. It is, 20% of the population wanting to vote for the AfD is a huge amount, but there's another 80% there.
Yeah.
And that's not to be complacent, but it's also like it would suit them all very well if we just gave up and stopped protesting and stopped doing whatever.
Yeah, no. And I think, and I spoke to someone from the Schalke fan initiative. Schalke is in a town called Gelsenkirchen.
I think I knew that because of Kit Holden.
Yeah. And it's also, I didn't know this.
Actual friend of the pod, not a Nazi who I like to rip on.
Okay. And Gelsenkirchen in the Ruhr Valley is like one of the most sort of poorest places in Germany because they have, because it's like all deindustrialized. Yeah. And there used to be like an SPD stronghold there because it was also working class, and this was back in the 70s, and now it's become quite far right.
Yeah.
And Susanne Franco is someone from the Schalke fan initiative said, we're like she feels like that the fans are kind of wrestling for control of the narrative and of this thing, and they just won a prize for their stand against racism in that town. So just wanted to say.
Nice. That's good news.
Yeah.
I'm glad there are prizes like this.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good. Anyway, so talking of good news.
Talking of good news, we do have a new good news corner.
We do have.
How's your Megacan?
I finished it ages ago. It's too small. Is what it is. I feel like I'm on a plane.
I think I've got this down to such a good thing. Like I always, like it doesn't seem to matter the size. Like I'm just so aware of how much liquid I'm going to need, Anyway, it's delicious. Thank you, Smirnoff. Oh God, are they Russian? We shouldn't be supporting them.
I should mention the polls because you remember last time we were on, we were talking about this big hoo-ha in the Bundestag.
Yeah.
With Friedrich Merz and the CDU and the vote with the AfD.
Fucking show of himself, yeah.
And it doesn't seem to have it seems to have had like zero effect on the polls. Like it didn't hurt the CDU, but it didn't help them much either. And the same with the AfD. They're both still on 30% and 20% respectively. The SPD 16%. This is a poll from today. Mm-hmm. The Greens 14%, but the Linke are on 7% now suddenly, and that's 2% more than they got in the 2021 election, and it's well over 3% more than they were on a few months ago when they were being they were split on. What do you call it? They were decimated by the split in the Bundestag, and the BSW, the Bundes Sarah Wagenknecht, split off and created a new party. And so it's kind of interesting. I think that and obviously Gysi helps having a candidate or having a kind of a public figure like that, but also I kind of think that that the kind of the opposition to the CDU and the AfD is coalescing a little bit around the Linke, because they're like the one party that is that you can vote for and you're not going to sell out to the centrists with, I suppose, unless I mean, obviously there are other opinions out there. There are other people for whom the Linke are too right-wing,
I think it's good to have obviously it's good to have lots of like a spectrum in the Bundestag. I wish the spectrum stopped at like the CDU, but fine. I read somewhere this week that like Die Linke's membership has like gone up to like an all-time high, and I certainly saw on TikTok, I wonder, I mean, it's hard to say what's causing this, but like I saw a lot of very good speeches during that kind of like whole shit show in the Bundestag from Die Linke politicians who were very really did a good job.
So 81,200 members of the Linke, which is an all-time high according to the party itself. Yeah.
Oh, wow. God, you think it'd be more? I guess I don't really know anything about
party
membership and what.
In 2022, it was 54,000. So,
but what does the CDU have, for instance? Okay. Let's do the fun thing where we
Google during the show. CDU Mitgliederzahl 400,000. No, wait. It's gone down a lot. Yeah, 300 and something thousand, basically. Yeah, I mean, party memberships have been going down, especially for the big parties, since the 90s. I mean, they've gone down.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not really a thing that young people are doing, is it?
In 1990, the CDU had nearly 800,000 members.
Oh, wow.
And now it's down to about 360,000.
Well, God, maybe this is another thing. We all need to, we can't just all sit drinking Megacans in front of microphones. I do think I need to get into German culture and maybe trying to start infiltrate some institutions.
Yeah.
So that's some good news.
You had some good news too.
I had some good news. I passed my Leben in Deutschland test.
Yeah.
Do I know by how much? No. Am I just going to take that certificate and run? Yes. Which means that I can now, once I collect it, I can put in my application before the 23rd of February, which will hopefully mean that even if Friedrich Merz, who's likely to be our next chancellor, immediately reverses the Doppelbürgerschaft thing.
Yeah, get in there.
That I will still be okay, because I learned how to put endings on adjectives in a lot of different contexts, and I can almost do it, I'd say, 50% of the time correct now. And I would like to be able to cast a vote for that, plus all of the fucking thousands of euros I've paid in tax.
Yeah,
which I'm happy to
certainly paid your dues.
I think so. I'd love to be able to go to the ballot box, the Wahl urne.
If you can do the datives and your adjectives and your what is it, accusatives?
Yeah.
Then you should be able to vote. That's the least.
I think it's the least that Germany can do. They make you conjugate nouns sometimes in this country.
Oh,
That's
God.
appalling. That's appalling.
Good.
Yeah. Also, thank you very much. These delicious Smirnoff Ice 250, which absolutely... Do you know what this would be really good for? If you are, and this is actually quite a good trick, if you're so hungover that you can't do anything, but you need to do something, like there's a party or something you have to go to, you can have an Alco Pop whilst walking. This is a top hangover tip. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of pace up and down and you drink an Alco Pop, and this would be perfect for it. Okay. And these were brought to us, obviously, by our patrons, and we have a new patron. We have Kyle.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club, Kyle.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. We really, really, really appreciate it. And if you think it's an important time to have people, probably foolishly, in Germany calling far-right politicians cunts fairly regularly, send us some money.
Send us some money. and we'll put an extra bit of oomph in our cunt. I don't know what to say. Well, the more you pay us, the more we'll...
That's perfect. Let's just leave.
Okay.
Let's just leave it there. Yeah, everyone, take good care of yourselves. Oh, also, speaking of performative middle class activities, the Berlinale is on, everyone, which makes me and Konrad very excited.
Yes, very good. Yes, yeah. We can all go and agree with each other in a cinema.
Exactly. Unless don't mention the Middle East, obviously. If you want to have a nice time in middle class Germany, don't do that. Okay. Which is obviously bad, but...
Although Tilda Swinton brought it up, didn't she?
Did she? Night? Good for fucking Tilda. Somebody needed to.
She won an honorary award at the Berlinale last night, and I think she did mention mass murder and stuff.
Good for Tilda. Well done.
Okay.
Well done.
That's it.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Have a lovely time. If you're in Berlin, enjoy the snow. If you're not, do whatever.
Bye.
Bye.
Megacan, German news in English with a cocktail can. The German news, it's quite a test. With Megan's Mega, you're feeling refreshed. Megacan, German news in English with a cocktail can. Deutsche Nachrichten.
actually it's quite a positive message to give to people.
So.
I like to think that we have quite a positive impact on our listeners.
I hope so.
Because we try and get them to defy the fear of listening to the news all day.
I mean, it's better than reading a German newspaper, surely.
I would definitely recommend listening to our podcast more than reading any German newspaper.
German newspapers barely have pictures.
Oh.
Like fucking, it's just a brick of text.
Oh yes. And they seem to make a virtue of it. They think it's like so great to have no text.
Not like you Americans
no
with your fucking
colour pictures.
decadent pictures in your newspapers.
Yeah,
What's that? A crossword puzzle? Oh, no wonder you had Trump. Jesus Christ, everyone! Like, there's a middle ground.
You have to concentrate on the news. It's very important. And you have to like keep it there.
Just have a mega.
Have a mega. Give us a picture every now and then.
Just a wee picture, maybe of,
yeah.
a diagram.